camera guy ready. And in the meantime, Sally says we got to have the DVD back that you've got of the original meeting, first meeting, because we want to keep the copy in the village hall, right? Okay?
Okay, I have it and I'll get it back to you.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just for archives, Ross, in case anybody needs to go back and check anything.
Okay, now, this,
We're just trying to see if we can move it.
that's fine.
Oh, you wanted to...
Is that all right?
Yeah.
That's fine, okay. Are we set? Are we going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is the meeting of the
Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee of the proposed village-town merger. Our function is to prepare a budget, combined budget to be used for approximately years 2015. And we've got Ross Pollock, who can't physically make it tonight, but he's on the cell phone, so you will hear him. I'm Dave Lent. I've been elected the moderator, the chair of this committee. And why don't we go around?
Sally Rhodes.
Susan's in it.
Nancy Branca.
Jingalucci.
Okay, fine, all right.
And Ira will be with us.
And Ira will be with us. He had another commitment that ended kind of late. I think everybody has a copy. Do you have a copy of what a proposed agenda was going to be tonight? What their plan was, or my plan was proposed, and of course we can change it if we want. I have another copy here, Susan. Do you have one, Gene?
Oh, I read it.
Oh, you read it? Okay, yeah, it's very short. Okay, basically, what the agenda is that we're going to discuss is we're going to take the village fiscal year-end report for 2011, which ended on 5/31/2011, to determine if the line item is affected by the potential merger, and this will allow us to start developing a projected 2015 budget. So we're going to go through it line item by line item, and basically going to code them so that they are either.
I got my financial.
Okay. Yeah. So that number one, if it's a income or an expense that will be eliminated, we'll put omit down O. If it's an expense or income item that has to be transferred completely into the joint or the budget, we'll put a TC on it. And if it's possibility that a town and village merger would modify the total, rather than taking the total of the town and the total village and just add them together, if in fact they be decreased or increased or modified, then we'll put it as TPM, and it's something we can come back and do. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Okay?
Yes.
Now, if everybody disagrees, well, it's not going to be a majority decision. If in fact I say it should be omitted, and somebody says, well, no, it might not all be omitted, and so forth and so on, we're making a TPM. I don't want to get into a big discussion. If there's one person that says it should be,
Okay, so it's omit.
always omit. TC is transfer complete.
CC.
TC.
Transfer complete.
TC. And TPM.
Wait, transfer complete, meaning we transfer the whole entire
In other words, it's
line.
this type of thing, okay? And as we get these type of and the other one is a TPM, which means it puts it there, may decrease, probably, hopefully decrease, but may increase, okay? So
Just out of curiosity, what does TPM mean?
I don't know.
Okay.
Why don't we just
It's
put
okay.
an M for merge?
Town, village,
It's
merge.
probably transfer.
TVM,
It's probably-
TVM, call it TVM.
I bet you it's transfer pending modification.
Transfer pending modification, you're right, okay? That's why I did come up with it.
Yep, transfer pending modification.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, that's physically pending modification, all right. All right, I think that's, okay, and now with that, we will start right with the, in the village. Now, does anybody have any problems with discussing?
No, but I do want to suggest that we're gonna have to, when we get to town, we're gonna have to create a board thing, because there are certain things in a town budget that we will never merge. That it's a town function.
Well, but wouldn't they, I don't understand.
Well, like,
because
we
if-
do not do welfare.
I understand that, we don't do welfare, the village doesn't do welfare now. If
Right.
it is
When
a
we merge,
consolidated town-wide village, that village will be providing social services.
right, exactly.
So
that's
it
a move
should
over
be
the other way.
inclusive in,
Well, that would be a TC, it's transfer complete.
Transfer complete.
Yeah, oh, okay.
It's
Yep.
a transfer
Alright.
complete,
Yep.
okay? It's a transfer
Okay,
complete,
all right,
that's
as
right.
long as we remember
There's a lot of
going
stuff,
both
there's a lot of
directions.
stuff,
Well,
there's a
that's
lot of
why-
stuff in the town that's transferred complete, okay?
Okay.
You use that
Okay,
or-
wait a minute.
Omen is taking out, transfer complete is moving over, transfer modification means
Okay.
that we might be merging that budget.
okay, well, I was
What
using
I'm
a little
suggesting
bit
is-
different.
Go
What,
ahead.
what would you like to call it?
Well, if you, I have started, I told you I would make you a skeleton.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so I put a B for both, a
That's-
T for town. I'm just telling you what I have on here, I mean, I can modify it. So you have O,
To omit.
TC, and TPM.
Yeah,
Okay,
alright,
Roll.
okay, alright, okay.
So wait, I'd like to just,
Okay.
you created a
I am,
skeleton. and
I am
you're
Is this an
gonna be
extra
typing
type?
this stuff in
I'll take
as we go through this, is
Oh,
that what
yes,
you're doing?
yeah.
I am in the process of creating a budget document that is functions of the village and the town, inclusive by code. So it'll be right down the line. I will eventually need to look at that comptroller's book, because
Oh, yeah.
the real one, because there's some things in here that I believe are made up.
And
Okay.
I would like to suggest a qualifier on something you said earlier, Gabe, and I would say, you said, let's not, get bogged down if one person doesn't want to omit it. I would prefer that if Jean and or Nancy say, you can't omit that, it doesn't get omitted.
Well,
They're
okay,
the experts. No, they're the experts.
Well, okay, that's, we go, okay.
Are we starting with revenues or expenses?
We've got to start with revenues, okay?
Alright, well,
Now,
What's the page number?
This one?
Just so I can,
okay, Ross wants to know what page number you're on.
it's page number 5, Ross.
Okay, thank you.
okay, I just want to, just also say that, Sally and I called up to the Department of State,
Yes.
and we're in the midst of scheduling a meeting in about 2 weeks. We're just confirming dates with the Department of State. We're going to be meeting with the Deputy Director of the Department of State to go over some of the specifics of, like, revenues, how long we might collect town and village revenues. Sometimes, way back when, there was a law that allowed, I think, a town and a village for 5 years to collect revenues if they should merge, and then after the 5th year, they lose one of the revenue streams. I'm not sure if that's still the case, because now that they have the empowerment and stuff, so we want to really get a real sense of if we should do this, what revenues are still there for us, and also understand the $1 million grant that we just were able to become a part of, to really understand the implications of that and stuff. So we are going to go in about 2 weeks, and whatever comes out of tonight and whatever potential questions, we can bring that with us, but we're going to sit
I've
down.
already sent potential
Right,
questions.
right, but we're going to sit down and have a really extensive meeting with the Department of State to try to see how much information we can bring back to this committee.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Okay, the first item, okay, on the revenue story is real property taxes, and I put them as a MIT because that's really determined by what the size of the budget is.
Right, right,
Okay, so that's not something,
right.
okay? And then,
Wait, time out, Gene. He's trying to sort of say that we don't know what that number is going to be because that number will be determined by the modified budget.
Yeah, but it is also a qualified revenue stream to come up with what that budget is.
Right, exactly. You'll never know that until you know what everything else is.
No, but Gene is sort of.
Input,
Ira, with Ira.
if you remove it,
Come on,
Because
join us, why don't you join on the other end, Ira?
Ross is on the conference phone.
Conference call, so he'd be at the end of the thing, so appreciate, I know you've had a very busy day, appreciate coming.
Here, Susan.
Do you want to sit here, Ross, and I'll move over?
I
Well,
think
she's
what
in
he,
the-
I think how I understood it is
Oh, okay.
to determine it once
Oh,
we
that
get
way?
budgets together. It's a revenue. We're gonna
It's a
have-
revenue, it's gonna be a
We won't
ticket
know
there.
anything about what it's gonna be because until we have both set of numbers. So you actually write a budget, then you don't know what your tax revenue's gonna be. That's the way I understand it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, okay, it's an end result rather than an input.
Is there a way, Gene, to create another line
This is.
that sort of hangs out there that's,
This is merge.
what would we call it?
I mean, we could put like an anticipated amount if we could figure something out, but I don't know how we could right now.
Or yeah, like an anticipated revenue or a revenue to be modified.
well, the thing is, you don't have to populate the field until you have all the expenses.
I agree.
That's right.
Right. But you would eventually need the line.
Oh yeah, but for
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, oh, we understand that, you're gonna need the line, the question,
But
like,
I'm not following the omit. I thought the omit.
Oh, he's just saying that not to take this number because we don't know what this number's
Oh,
going to
I'm
be for
not
now.
taking any numbers.
Oh, okay. So
You thought I was taking numbers?
no, well, yeah, because what's going to happen?
I'm sorry, I was taking line. I'm taking these
Oh yes,
lines.
you keep a real property
Yeah,
tax
that's right.
line. You keep the real property tax line in your model budget, but we're not putting a number in yet. That's what she's.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I don't
Okay.
have that.
That's a TBD.
Okay, no,
Determined.
I know, but she was trying to figure out, which we thought admit, she thought we were saying we have to admit that line from the budget. No, we're just
We speak
omitting,
different language, but.
and the.
Gene, what we're doing right now is looking at all of these
Yep.
and then deciding what number to put in.
Okay.
Okay.
You are?
Yes,
No, what we're trying to do is to find out
Which ones go together?
Right.
which
Which
ones go together and
Right.
that's the situation,
Right.
okay? And I
Okay.
realize that it's a little tough getting started, okay, but.
Okay.
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 And question of interest and penalties on real property taxes. I think that is a transfer complete. And I say that because people will continue to pay taxes, not have penalties? Or should it not be, since they only have really one bill, that it would be combined charges?
Well, technically, for the
You'll still have
moment,
interest and penalties.
What?
You'll still have the
Yes.
interest and penalties.
You will.
So if
People
she-
don't pay on time.
Yeah.
so if she puts
But
in,
that's what he's saying, it's
Right.
transfer complete and we'll add on.
well, it's complete until we
And
add
then
the town's
we get
number,
the town
right.
one, we add the town
Right,
one to
right.
the village one, and that's the
Yeah.
figure that goes in.
So now let's just, yeah, so I agree that it's transfer complete, but let me just
Transfer
ask,
complete, all
but let me
right.
just ask a question from, you did, you come up with this number based on calculations of what you think the next year is gonna have in terms of more houses,
So this
or
is
more
an
people.
actual.
This is,
That's
these
a
are
real
actual.
No, I understand it's a real number, but I'm just trying to say, do we want to just take the number as it is, or do we want to talk about, like, from a perspective that
I wouldn't
maybe?
take any of these numbers. I think we're just going through to see what's complete and what's.
Right.
omitted.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
classifying.
Yeah,
just
we're just kind of
classifying.
Okay.
classifying,
We're not gonna
okay?
use numbers.
Oh, okay.
We're not making a final decision until we put these together and say the judgment.
Okay, so now let me just ask a question. Is Gene putting in just a C for complete or 11,886 and when we get
Just
the,
a C for, TC.
A TC.
Transfer complete.
okay,
Okay?
That it's a line that's gonna stay.
okay.
Now, Utilities gross receipt tax.
That is a TC plus.
Okay.
It's a
Now-
TC
now-
plus.
Okay, okay.
What's that based upon? What?
That is, a village is allowed to, and Nancy and I are exploring whether we can
Now,
increase it. It
it's-
is it is 1% of the gross utility receipts in the village. So,
Yeah, it's okay, the town has it too, so it's
So
a
the
TC.
town does have it. I
It's a
didn't-
TC. It's a TC.
but
She's
you
saying
had-
transfer complete
you
because the
had
town
said
has
that
it
you didn't
too.
see it.
Yeah.
you don't have it in the town because I have the law and it says it's only for villages and cities. So it's a
I
TC
asked why
plus.
the town didn't have it. I wasn't sure of that.
I don't think the town has it.
No.
Susan.
I
don't
thought
think
it was
does.
in the B
I don't
fund.
either.
Huh?
Maybe it's in the B fund, I don't remember that
That
either.
means that we can expand
No.
it because
I could
the
be wrong.
town.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's
Now,
a TC plus.
Okay, put TC plus.
Gross receipts tax, okay.
It's a TC plus because it
Now-
will be larger once the boundaries are expanded.
Okay, that's
Okay.
what it's saying. Now, one of the questions that comes up to mind, and we start now, is how do we project as to how much that might be increased, okay?
Well, that's
It's
why
a
I was,
gross utilities taxes, this comes from Central Hudson?
Yes, but we also get it from Verizon, a small amount from Verizon.
Time
We have our
Warner.
Time Warner cable contract where it's
Well,
in
the
there.
cable contract's franchise, which is the next
Yes.
one, yeah, okay.
We get it from a few different little companies.
What?
We have a few
All
different ones that come in.
utilities.
All utilities that are in the village, that are offered in the
So
village, we get a
gas,
percent of.
we're investigating.
Well, I haven't said that yet,
No,
so we're
we
gonna
haven't
investigate
done,
that.
we're
Mhm.
investigating if this can be
Yeah.
expanded.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, I just don't want to drop that one at the point there. Who's looking at what that might be expanded to? Sally?
Sally's.
I
Okay.
am, it's my job.
Okay.
If I have any questions.
Franchise, I presume this is cable TV fees?
Yeah,
That's a
among
transfer
other
complete?
things.
All right. Treasury fees.
Can I ask a question about the franchise from cable?
What?
he wants to know if he can ask a question.
Huh? As I understood it, there were two franchise fees. One fee for the village, which doesn't take it from the taxpayers, and one fee for the town, which does take it from the taxpayers.
No, it's the opposite. The village one takes it from the taxpayers, the town does not.
No, it's the other way. The town has paid, everybody in the town has the franchise fees included in their bill. Those people in the village, because the village didn't want to take the money, as I understood it, don't.
Ira, you're wrong.
What does, you know what,
Say something.
David, it doesn't matter anyway, because I think the town contract is changing, and I think the way they used to do it and the way they're gonna do it is different. So I don't think that the distinction you're trying to make is relative. It's just a matter right now about, are we gonna be taking, will we both have franchise fees in our combined budget? Yes, we will.
It gets more.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was my only concern,
Right.
because it wasn't the same fee, and if we're gonna lose,
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter where
No,
we,
it's very similar, okay? The town gets 3% today, the village gets 3.5%, all right? Now, at the same.
Dave, why don't we, after we get the contract settled with Time Warner, then we could discuss,
Why don't
The
we
intricacies.
concentrate on the village side? We do not have town figures.
well, that's why I'm just saying the transfer's complete, because there will be a franchise fee.
So it's a transfer complete.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right?
okay, no, well,
Okay, now, treasury fees, charges for tax redemption, clerk fees, they're all minor figures, but are these transfers complete or not?
Which fees I would think would go out, that's a no-net.
Most likely, it
No.
depends if we're going to turn our taxes to the county or keep them the way we do it today.
Oh, right, because the village can do their
We
own,
do our own tax sale.
even though you could have the county do it even as a village.
Yeah, actually, we're considering moving it to the county because we've run into a lot of problems with some of the.
Ellenville turned it over to the county, I think, and I
Yeah.
think,
I don't go
I
to
think in
tax
the-
sale with that much. I pretty much collect all my taxes by the end of June. Just the lingering ones.
So what's the
I would
take it out for now.
take it out for now.
So
because
do
you
an
don't know
O-
which way you're gonna be.
Which one are we taking?
Which, you're omitting treasurers, you're
The
omitting
treasurer fees. that's
treasure
what it
fee.
is.
what
Which is not-
about charges for tax redemption?
Same thing.
No, tax advertising?
Well, that's the whole thing. How-
There's a reminder that's printed in the town's thing before they turn it over to the county.
Yeah, but we're talking about, from the village
Like the
budget.
tax sale.
What about clerk fees?
The clerk fees you wanna leave because, that is
Should I get you some water?
licensing, well, you're gonna merge it. You're gonna merge
Yeah.
that.
Transfer
So,
complete.
Transfer complete.
That's transfer
Transfer
complete. Should I get you some
complete,
water,
okay.
tea?
So were you referring to the admin fees when you said, which one are you talking about?
1235 charges for tax redemption. And then clerk fees, 1255.
What do the police fees refer to?
Police fees get omitted because
We don't use
we
it.
don't have,
What?
police fees is an omit.
Ross wants to know what the.
Yeah, one was zero. It
Ross
was
wants to
zero.
know.
Right, it's an omit.
Police fees, what do they
Oh.
refer to?
Well, we don't have anything in.
There's nothing in there, so-
In the,
There is no
in the
police
latest
fees.
year, 2010 it did have police fees, it don't in 2011, so it's just an omit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We changed it around.
Safety transfer.
Safety
and
inspection
ENCC.
fees, I would complete that to transfer complete, right?
I would hope so. It's $102,000.
Parking meter fees are transfer complete.
Because we're gonna merge. it.
Zoning fees, well, I presume it transfer complete, and planning board fees transfer complete. Fire protection services.
Just wait 1 second, Gina. I think you're going too fast for Gene.
What?
You're
No,
going
I
too
got it.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
never mind.
Fire protection services, other governments,
That's our.
that's an omit.
Yeah, it will be, because it'll be one.
Why?
There'll be one.
Because
you're
you're gonna pick up that fee in the town budget.
Right, it's gonna be a townwide village budget,
Right.
and it's gonna be a transfer complete.
Well, yes, but
But
then
not
everybody's-
so
Well, not
when you
yet.
get to the town, okay.
Well, no, it's
then
not a
you
revenue.
You gotta admit it one place or the other.
So
It's
omit-
because it's a
omit-
revenue
I'm
from the town
thinking
to the.
expense.
He should have it. We're okay.
What?
We're all okay.
I
It's
was
a-
thinking expense, not revenue.
Yeah, it's a
Sorry.
revenue that goes away.
Okay,
So it's omit.
It's omit, okay.
But, gang, so we don't get confused, this is a village function, it's gonna be a town transfer complete.
Yeah,
No, what's
Yes, it is.
yeah.
There's not gonna be any revenue.
it's not gonna be any revenue because it's now
It's
just gonna be
in the tax
expense.
base.
We're not talking about revenues, we're talking about the actual expenditures.
But we're not doing it.
That's
This
right.
is just
When we get to the
revenues.
expense part, there's gonna be expense thing here, that's gonna be complete, okay?
Okay.
The expense is gonna be
We're not gonna take it in, right?
right.
And so when we get to the expense thing, it talks about, fire protection services, okay?
Then it's.
Since the village pays it complete, all right?
Right.
This will be transfer complete. When we look at the town budget, since the village has paid to the village and the village complete, then you ignore it.
Right, okay.
You admit it when you get to the town budget, right?
Yep.
It's kind of complicated,
It's
but
not really.
Not really.
all right. Snow removal services, other governments,
That's building department when they go out and do.
So
snow
that's
removal.
complete.
Yeah.
snow removal for other departments.
No, sidewalks, right?
Sidewalks or shoveling, or if they have to
Okay.
hire somebody to go out and shovel,
So that's a transfer complete.
that would be a transfer complete.
Okay, so this is essentially something you
Is
do.
it a transfer complete or is it a special district? Because it's sidewalks.
It's probably a special district.
Why?
They'll probably
I mean,
be-
are you
Well,
gonna
how
have
is it-
special
how's it
districts if you get
handled?
one?
How's
Are you
it handled,
gonna
Gene?
to do
It's-
special?
Well, we're gonna start
We
looking at
haven't
everything.
gotten to that part yet, so we don't know. It would be a benefit district, Gene's right. Put a benefit after it.
BD.
question mark.
Well,
But
because-
the BD after it, okay? All right. Interest and earnings, okay, transfer complete. Business and occupational license,
That's the waste management licenses for garbage pickup, that we issue them to pick up garbage in the village. They pay us $200 a year in order to come into the village and pick up garbage.
So that's a transfer complete.
Yeah.
I don't think we have those in the.
You don't have that in
you
town,
don't.
do you?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna.
What?
But that doesn't mean that you'll stop offering the services in the village.
No.
No,
Transfer complete.
no, transfer complete.
It
but-
just might start to cost more. That revenue line might go up because you might expand it out to more boundaries.
Yeah, okay.
So, and it could be a benefit district possibly. I don't
So
know.
potential additional in town.
So
okay.
it's TC and it could be a BD.
Pardon me?
It could potentially be a benefit
No,
district.
it isn't. Garbage is never a benefit district.
No, but what happens
I-
if ultimately the town residents, the town outside, the village residents, they pay directly to their hauler to come pick up their garbage.
These guys do too. They just have to have a license to haul it in the
This
They
is
have to
the
have a permit in
licensing
the village.
pieces.
Right, but they don't have to have a permit in the town.
Correct.
So the question
You do
is,
not charge garbage people a fee to go to Simmons Plaza.
No.
No.
The town doesn't charge the
Waste
hauler
right,
for the plaza
right.
to be allowed to come into the town of New Paltz and haul the
Well,
garbage.
because we have
Right.
a noise ordinance they have to follow.
So it's in the nature of a license fee to do business.
Wait, I'm sorry, Ross is talking. Go ahead, Ross, what?
It sounds like it's a license fee to do business, and either it's charged by one and not the other, or the new government would charge it of everybody, I would think.
Right.
Well, that's the question that we're talking about, is whether or not I mean, you might want to expand the boundaries to include all the infrastructure parts and charge that fee, but not charge the fee to the town outside the village. I don't know, I mean, not the town outside the village, the rural part, I don't know. That's why I'm saying we're sort of talking about how we want to handle this.
Yeah, I think the conversation is
If
constructive.
you haul,
What?
you haul garbage.
I think what you're talking about is
What-
constructive to think about.
Okay, go ahead.
What, Ross?
He said it's constructive, it's a constructive conversation to think about.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we haven't made a decision though,
So
so,
it's a TC plus.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Game's a chance, town has the same thing, so I guess it's, transfer complete. Permits other, I don't know what they are, but we'll put transfer complete.
Right.
Fines and forfeited bonds,
Bail.
bail,
That's the parking department. That's all the fines.
This
for
is
the
parking?
tickets.
Yeah.
okay, so transfer complete.
Yep.
Sales of equipment, well, we didn't have any. Gifts and donations, I believe that's transfer complete. Unclassified, I don't know what that is, but
It's-
transfer complete, whatever it might be.
All of that is transferred.
right.
Now, we get the state aid revenue sharing.
I would,
That's probably gonna be your million.
I would keep it, and then we can, this is some of the stuff that Sally and I are gonna try to get a handle on
This is
from
a
the
question
state
for all
relative to how revenue sharing gets handled. But there will be revenue sharing. I mean, just because we merged doesn't mean that we stop getting revenue from the, from the state
Yeah, I
government.
guess the question is this, okay, do you still get the town, I don't know how those formulas come up, do you still get town
Well, that's what-
aid, and you still get village aid, both aid?
Well, that's some of the questions that we have to find out from the
Okay,
Department of State.
so that-
But we know we're gonna have revenue sharing from the state within the new government. So
Okay, fine.
that's, so we need to know that that line does not get removed.
Okay,
So that's a
transfer
TC.
complete is mortgage tax,
Yep.
Yeah.
state aid, capital projects, I
Yep.
presume that's transfer complete. And public safety,
That's all grant revenue that came in.
Okay.
all grant revenue.
Put in parentheses, so we remember to put it in, is sales tax.
Yeah, because the town.
And sales tax revenue in the village does not.
But when we go through the revenues,
Well, we'll
revenues
see
for,
that- We'll see that when we get to the
No,
town.
but it's a question that we want to answer.
oh,
Okay.
Which,
sales tax.
so you wanna add a line.
You add that in, even though we'll pick it up when we do the town, but Sally wants to bring it up now as something that we remember when we go up to the Department of State.
Federal aid, capital projects, I presume no.
I would, omit it
I
because
mean,
it's our,
that's a no,
it's gonna
okay?
be one
What?
line that you're gonna use, it's grant money. Come back.
Okay,
You wanna transfer
but
or
CHIPS
omit?
money, we're
We can
going
do that.
TC. Did we already cover that?
What?
What did you do with
That's the
that?
Fed aid cap.
Consolidated
Yes.
highway aid.
Yes, that's,
What did you do with
I was told that
One
there's a
second, guys.
federal model cities
Guys,
program or
guys.
something.
What, Ross?
I was told by somebody in Albany that there is a federal grant program which has devolved upon the state, and that they would guarantee that any existing grants would be completed without disruption if we were to merge, and that after we merged we could apply as town or village depending upon which was more advantageous.
we
In
can.
other words, the merger doesn't get in the way, I was told, of the state's implementation of the federal grant program.
Okay. So that's for the federal aid capital projects?
Yeah, we kept.
So we kept that as a transfer complete,
That's
Ross?
right, not a no-bid.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So it's a transfer,
Complete.
Did they get CHIPS funding?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Everybody
okay.
gets it, so
Yeah.
it's one.
the only problem that I have with transferring that complete and that capital project complete is that when we get to looking at the expenses, all right? I mean, there has to be a capital project we spent that
Right.
the village spent the expenses on, okay? But that project will probably be done
Probably done.
with
But there'll
2015.
probably be
But there'll probably be other ones.
Well, for the moment, Dave, for the moment right now, we're not talking about putting the numbers in. We're just talking about creating the model budget and the lines, in a sense. So we haven't started to like say, should we change this number, keep this number? Do we think interest and penalties should go up? Do we think it's gonna go down? So we're not nuancing the numbers, we're really just talking now about the lines and the revenue and what we get to keep and what we might not have.
Well, I would suggest that we transfer possible modification,
Okay,
all right?
4.
Might be up, might be down.
Capital projects. they-
Capital project.
okay,
Right.
okay, so
So
transfer,
you're doing a transfer modified.
transfer pending modification,
Yeah, interfund
TPM.
transfers are as omit, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
So federal aid capital projects is TPM,
yeah,
and then interfund transfers is omit.
yes.
But the town also does interfund transfers, so we can't omit the line.
But it's different, they're different funds.
They do it a different way,
Yeah,
so
it's different.
what I'm gonna put is check.
Well,
Well,
it
that,
depends on what those interfund transfers are for,
ours is
as
for
compared to
admin.
what this is.
Transfer
Right.
complete?
No, TPM.
TPM. the model-
Well, the interfund transfers in the village are what?
That particular 50,000 is coming over from the water and sewer fund to help me do all the billing and all the administrative stuff, because I do all that.
So it
for
would
water.
depend on what the interfund
Mhm.
transfers that are budgeted in the
Mhm.
town's budget are actually for.
I
as
don't
to
do that
whether or
many
not-
facts.
So
really know
how
what I
would
do.
you suggest we handle this then?
So then that
I
wouldn't be
have to
omit.
look at the town.
It is an omit.
It is
I
an
believe it
omit.
is.
Okay,
What?
what?
I think it's an omit.
I think
Okay.
it's an omit because
Okay.
It would be set up a different way.
Right,
rather
okay.
than an interfund transfer, it would be
Right.
a special
Okay,
district.
Okay,
Okay, now that takes care of the vacancy revenue thing. The next thing we move on is to the operation of the budget. And of course, for the benefit of the people out there who may have watching this, see this, report, okay, we may change some of these figures over here, figures what we do, okay, this is our first pass through it, and we may find out when we start to work with the town one, that's go back and maybe we need to change what we did in the village, but that's fine. Okay, on expenditures, legislative board and legislative control expenses, I would like to omit those. Now, I realize that,
First of all, we're going to a village form of government, so
Right.
we're gonna
Install
omit
the
anything.
board.
because
So I
the town-
would, the board of trustees, I would leave it CC.
Yeah, you still need
And with
it.
a plus, because we're gonna have to come up with a salary for the mayor.
Well, mayor has a
Now,
top line.
Mayor, that's a separate line.
But I'm just saying, in
Yeah.
general.
no,
We're
but,
going to have to contemplate what kind of salaries we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, but you're
It's
not
a
there yet.
transfer complete question mark, if you wish.
And it depends if you're gonna create a, different position, because I would assume you
So
would,
that's a
with that size of a
TC
government.
plus.
traffic bureau, personal services,
Oh, I already, I pulled it out and put it in a special district. Sorry.
traffic
traffic
violation,
bureau,
Parking, yeah, there's, no part of the town has parking meters.
But it still will be a village form
Let
of
me
government.
just, can I just throw something out there? Why wouldn't we
It will go through
merge
the courts.
parking over with court
Yeah.
and police?
No.
well,
I never understood why we didn't do that from the time
So-
we came here anyway,
so in other words, it would be
part of the court.
omit, but we,
Omit from
but we,
village
but,
town and
well, we,
turn it
so in other words, what we could do right now, because Jean's trying to create quote a model budget, is say we're gonna omit this, but then
And include it within.
include it later on, so we
I
don't
would
lose
just
it.
say transfer to court,
Right,
And police. You-
Right.
It would have to be both.
right,
and that way you're not omitting, you know you have
You're
to
just-
create this.
right,
Putting it where it belongs.
okay,
All right, wait a minute.
okay,
so it's transfer to court and police.
Yep.
right.
Because.
But Jean's deleting a traffic violations bureau out of this combined budget, because we're not gonna have that line anymore.
The mayor is TPM, the mayor expenditures at TPM.
Yes.
Auditor,
Yeah, you'll need
control
an auditor.
expenses.
Yeah, that's something you're
That's
gonna
it.
Many
need.
will probably.
Well, hold it, not the TPM, I would hope that when you had a merged town and village, that if you, and that you're not going to have the total expenses that you have the town on it, added to the total expenses.
No, you're not.
It wouldn't.
No.
It'd be one price and it'd
And
Be
it
probably-
would be somewhat smaller.
Right, it would probably be one and a
Most
half.
likely.
Yeah,
of what
so-
we-
I don't even think it'll be 1.5. If I think about, I mean, honestly, the work, whether, if you're auditing a budget, whether it's 50 million or 15 million, at the end of the day, you're just reconciling, you know, that everything's done right and stuff. So it's not like it's going to be $40,000 to. No, I know it's a lot of work, but I'm not saying I don't think it's going to be doubled or anything.
I
But
don't
we
think
still,
it'll be doubled.
It's
I
not
think
gonna
it'd
be
probably
doubled.
at least,
It's not gonna be double.
off the top of my head, I would say at least 30, 35.
Right.
okay,
I
but when
agree.
we go in to do the numbers, but
there's
right now we're not
some
doing
things-
that.
Yeah, there's some things, okay, that you now audit in the town, okay, that you're not gonna have to audit. For example, fire protection, you know,
The water, you
Water,
want to,
yeah.
because it's gonna be all
Water.
part of.
you only got one water
system.
sewer, well, it depends, okay.
Well, anyway,
I'm
we,
saying, Ira, you just shaking your head.
That's okay.
Well, you have a comment, did you wanna?
If I have a comment, I will make it.
it's a
You
transfer.
just wanna shake your head,
I
okay.
just feel
At the,
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the day, it's a transfer complete because we're gonna have auditing when we merge the two governments.
Right.
Yes, we are gonna have water, but it's TPM.
Right.
People, my feeling is, not only are we going to have auditors, but the books will be audited annually.
Ours are.
I know.
Well, the towns
Okay.
sometimes are.
Treasurer, personal services, that's a TPM. And expenses are TPM.
And that will be also adjusted.
So what did it became TPM?
Yeah, well, that's what
Well-
that's what M means, TPM, okay? TPM is clerk personal services,
Wait a minute.
sorry,
I added some lines, so hold on.
okay, sorry.
I gotta get
Sorry,
down to them.
T.
Okay, so the clerk, TC, or you,
TPM, TPM.
legal.
Okay, now we got law.
Is that for the lawyer too?
Yeah, I would say TC.
Even within our own budget right now, this is a reduced number. Okay.
And I don't think the clerk in the town has a
And
legal, it just comes out of my budget, right? Which is
No,
what's
this
out of
is a
legal.
separate line
It's
for
separate.
legal for the
It's just our
entirety,
line.
our
for the entirety.
attorney.
Of the village government?
Yeah, so like
Right
our
now.
budget line for
It's
Joe
not,
Mariello.
it's not
Mhm.
per hour.
Same thing.
Are
Okay.
they, do you?
Just under the
is
clerk
your
where ours
attorney on a
isn't.
retainer?
Yeah, it's not though. It's actually a separate line.
No, the town's just not on a retainer.
Okay, I would
No.
recommend that when we merge, it is an attorney on retainer.
Okay, but
The-
I thought we weren't talking money, we
We're
were
not
talking
talking-
classification.
Right, we are, we're just talking
That's a
classification.
TPM for sure.
Yeah, to TPM, hopefully one is, okay?
Okay.
Engineer,
Same thing.
You're gonna need one.
I can assure you that the,
elections, that's a zero.
No, you got a TC.
Why?
Because
Yeah.
you have to do HAVA and because the village, unless the village is gonna run the elections, which they're not gonna be able to in November, it's
Well-
gonna have to be shipped out to the county
well,
County will
and you
run
have to do the HAVA regulations.
it. Okay.
Well, wait,
The
tell-
county, on the recommendations of the efficiency committee, one of those recommendations is that it be a November election run by the county, nonpartisan.
Okay,
Tom,
so we
I'm
have to
just-
have the election
I'm just gonna
line.
step back for a second.
Okay,
It could be a November election, it could be nonpartisan, but it doesn't necessarily have to be run by the county if a townwide village form of government
It
is
is
a
much
little,
more
just,
expensive for us to run.
not anymore. Because now that the county charges back to the town's expenses to run elections have gone up astronomically. And so I would suggest that it would be something we would want to study to see what's the most efficient way to run the elections, because if it used to cost $10,000 to run the elections in the town, it's now like 40, 50,000 since the
Right.
county has done it, okay? So it still might be cheaper to let the village run it since we've changed to the county running the elections.
And you have to buy the machines and we don't own them.
Right, I don't,
That's the expense.
right.
I think you should study that.
Well, I'm just saying it's something that we have, I'm just saying it's not a decision we have to make now. We know that there's gonna be expenses for elections,
Okay.
whether it's the county or we run them. The line exists. The most efficient way to do it, we should study. Yeah, well, guys, one second, Dave, 1 minute. What, Ross?
I agree completely with what you're saying, and if ultimately this comes down to an enabling act passed by Albany, they will gladly spell out for us who will conduct the elections in November. I mean, that would be a reasonable part of an enabling law.
Uh-huh.
But what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Right.
We could actually get it embedded in law, is what I'm saying.
Uh-huh, okay.
Translate, we can't hear
What he's
anything.
basically saying, once we decide what we want, we could have the state drafted into the enabling law as we create this new government where it basically is within the law who's going to run our elections, but we should decide what we want before we write the law.
No question about that, Ross, but the issue isn't who's gonna run it, because if the village runs it, we do not own the new machines.
But we can
Neither
figure-
does the town. That's where the cost is.
Not necessarily.
buy
And actually, I
those
think, no, I know what it
machines.
costs to buy the machines for the county because I voted against them. But I can guarantee you that it could possibly be cheaper for us to buy the machines and run our own elections.
Might be.
Okay, but again, we're talking about keeping the line and the specifics we can do later. So
That's
right
an
I
now,
open
have a
question.
question for clarification for me and probably for the audience. I hope I'm the only dumb person here. The town, if in fact you were to have your own election, would the fall election be something that the county charges the town for also?
the county now runs all the elections for the towns and they charge us back. So they're run by the county, but the county takes the expenses. So they've taken the expenses of the machines, they've taken the expenses of the election inspector, you know, the people they trained to run the machines, the cost to store the machines. They've charged everything back to the towns, and everybody's elections literally increased 4, 5, 6-fold.
No, I have to ask the question though. Therefore, if on the elections in November for
Right.
president, representatives, all
Local,
the
doesn't matter.
legislators and so forth, if there were no local candidates on that election, okay, no supervisor, no mayor, no the
Right.
councils or anything else, okay, then the town would not get charged anything?
Oh, no.
No, we still have to have elections, it just still might be better for us to run them. Well, when you have, oh, okay, I see, the village residents, when there's national elections, you just vote in the town and the village has
That's
nothing
right.
to do with it. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The point is, with the merged government, we're gonna still have a line for elections with an expense. How we calculate that later we'll come to. Right now, we're just saying that this line still exists.
Okay, the line still exists, I
Right.
understand that, okay.
The technicalities of how we implement it, we're not discussing tonight. According to your rules.
For my own clarification, are you saying that the town would still get billed?
Yes.
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 Even though they didn't have any
No
town
local,
local elections?
no locals running, a strictly state and national level election. In order to provide the town with the machines, yes, the county sends a bill to the town.
Except for the fact that if we should determine that we want to buy our own machines, because that's a prerogative of the village government, could we not,
Right,
could we not
okay.
use our own machines for the national elections and not have the county charge us? I don't know, possibly. We can work out the details later.
And it's a question for all.
And we can ask that question in Albany too, absolutely. So let's put that down, Sally, as
I
a
have
department, you have it down as a Department of State question. Okay.
TPM then, okay.
Okay,
Records control,
Yep.
$21, I guess that's the transfer.
TC.
Transfer complete, that's easy. Buildings, personal services, now, I think that's a TPM.
I think it's a TC.
well, can I just, oh, okay, I'm sorry,
It's
I'm reading.
buildings and grounds.
Right.
So it would be-
Yeah.
So it's,
I think it's a
Run ours
TC, yeah.
differently than the
Yeah.
town. I think it's a TPM.
It is a
Yeah, TPM, because what
All right,
what you
yeah.
do is when you
Okay.
get the town stuff and the village
Right.
stuff, if you decide, and that's one of the questions, which I guess is really personal services, and looking at these committees, I don't know who comes up with the things that says, well, we now have, and I want to take, between the town and the village, we have now 60 people that are involved in supporting the buildings and grounds and the highway department and the sewer, the water and everything else, okay? Who makes the decision that when we combine the situations together, we have 60 people, or we have 58, or we have 63? I mean, I don't,
I think,
and I looked at these committees, and I didn't really figure
The
out.
Human Resources Committee is the basic committee to study all of this kind of stuff, but the end is ours to decide that. How many people we need to run, and I would think we would do it in consultation with Lou and Chris.
I think it would, I agree with Sally to an extent. I think that ultimately, a lot of these committees are gonna be running parallel to each other, and hopefully, by the time we get to the point of really doing some real numbers, we could get feedback from the building committee to see what they're thinking. Then at a certain point, we can sort of decide what we somewhat think, but ultimately it'll be the umbrella committee, which is the two boards, that will probably make the determination of what number they believe is the right number to put in. So I think it's gonna be an evolving process.
Actually, if the truth be told, there's flexibility from the time that the referendum, the two boards' responsibility are to present a referendum. How complete and full that referendum is another thing that Susan and I want to check in Albany. Because it seems to me, the more we can provide for people to consider, the better off two communities that want government are going to be. But down the line, the two governments are still going to be functioning after the vote, and it would be their responsibility to create the budget based on the referendum.
But technically,
Well, we have to project what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we're.
and in order
But
to
you can't change it.
But also in order to qualify, as I understand it, but we'll get clarification, in order to qualify for the enabling money that just got approved through the legislature, we have to show a budget that delivers savings to the taxpayers in order for us to qualify for the money. So we are going to have to come up with a budget that does show cost savings.
I would have to, I
70%
mean, just common
reduction.
sense would tell me
Right.
if you're merging two governments, you're gonna have a significant savings in some.
But
yeah.
70% of that grant.
If you're merging two governments, you don't need all.
No, but you may need, in the first 2 years, a tremendous amount of legal help, professional legal help. The 70% of the total grant that Susan and I got, with Jerry's help, is to ease the tax burden for that transitional, not transactional, transitional
Right.
costs.
Well, that's when
And
you're doing your
30%.
efficiency look.
But you also might craft a budget that shows first year you have so much personnel, but you can estimate through attrition that so many people will leave and only some of them need to be replaced, maybe
None.
all, maybe none. But so you might go in sort of saying, look, we're not looking to slash and burn personnel,
We're gonna
but
do it by
and we know that, you know, they're like for example, right now we're looking at a DPW potentially in the town. Right now, because of the fact that one person left the highway department, there's somebody in building grounds who's got the licenses that they need for the highway department because they worked up there. If we merge them now, we already don't have to replace one position because of the merger that we're taking. So by the nature of us doing the potential merger, we might find positions that are empty in the town, empty in the village, and we immediately put them together and say we don't have to replace. But we also can say 3 years from now, we think we can cut the workforce by X amount, but we'll do that through attrition. So we could project out more savings than maybe what we put in the initial budget because of,
Or you can do it also another way.
The
Just say,
efficiency is
Right,
too.
right.
And that's something that I
in
would.
the village, we lose position. at-
well, I'm sorry, Sally, 1 second. Go ahead, Ross.
A couple of years ago when I was in Albany sounding out the whole idea of coterminous, I spoke with CSEA. I mean, it was nothing official, nothing passed in concrete. But they seem to feel that if in a merger situation there was like a 1-year moratorium on layoffs, followed by reduction by attrition, that was probably the most acceptable way that they could handle this kind of merger.
Okay. Did you guys understand what he said?
No.
What Ross basically said was when he had preliminary conversations with CSEA about a coterminous government and merger, that CSEA was saying that if you did a 1-year moratorium on any layoffs and then created your savings through attrition, that's probably something the union can buy into.
Okay, but don't forget, Ross, we have two different unions. One,
Yeah, it's complicated by that factor, of
CSEA,
course.
but not the town.
Yeah, but that we'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
But Ross, my point was to elaborate is just say the village lost an employee who was a licensed X, and at the same time the town didn't need, they had 2 licensed X's. It might be if we all get along well enough and are serious about this, that we could then transfer town employee with license X.
Okay, all right, I think,
Okay.
I want to step back for just a minute, okay? In the question of going through the income or the revenue sources, I thought we had a discussion of the last meeting, okay, in regards to that the village received from Central Hudson a fee for every streetlight in the community.
That is the gross utilities tax. We
It's
just
part of the-
discussed that.
Yeah,
Groceries and tax.
now, if that is true, okay, is it possible to find out how much per light pole they pay us? Okay, I'd like to put that on I'd like to know how much they pay
We
us.
would have to pull the, we just talked
Well,
about
yeah.
this.
So
But what we need is
No,
how
no,
many
no, I get
poles
you.
are in the town.
And then we need how many poles we pay for in the town, so we know how much.
I just pulled those bills for us.
We
Sally.
talked about this when we began. Gross utility taxes.
I
are
know that.
Street lighting.
Yeah, I understand that, Sally. Okay?
We had 270.
But I'd like to have given an assignment, okay, in the meeting. Let's come back with some information next to that as to how many poles and how much we get, okay, in the village, and to the town how many poles and that we pay for. Okay, so that we can take the figures and multiply it, and therefore it gets an increase, and it also at the same time results in a decrease.
Yeah, except for the fact that one of the things that Sally is checking out is if the poles in the town that right now are a cost, if they turn into a revenue. And so that's one of the things Sally's checking.
That was my assignment early on.
Right.
With seating.
Well, I understand, that's one of the things you're talking about, but I'd like to know that, how many poles we cut in the
That's
village,
fine.
how many poles.
Not a problem.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I can give you a copy of that when we leave if you want. It's right
No,
there.
No, I don't want to need,
I have
I don't
to
need
come
it today,
to
I don't need it today.
Nancy, this is our part.
So if you want, I'll get.
Okay.
Because I've already gone through the bills, I know exactly where to look for
Okay.
poles.
Well, on the
It's
street
easy
lighting
to-
bill, we do a nice breakout.
That's what I'm saying, I did, when I did my
Yeah.
figure
Ira,
calculation.
you're doing full
Okay.
count?
All right, Central Garage.
That's a fast thing. I have
Okay,
to-
we're down to Central Garage. That's a TPM.
Of course.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Central Garage is a TPM.
Okay.
Central Printing and Mailing,
It's TPM.
TPM.
There's gonna be, alright.
Yeah, Central Data Processing,
I would say the same TPM because you have to
Yeah.
wait and see.
okay. Unallocated assurance, I guess that's a TPM.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Municipal dues,
That will be a reduction
It's
by
not-
one.
I think unallocated insurance and municipal association dues are TCs.
Okay.
TC?
TC, let's keep
No,
going.
it's going to be eliminated, Gene.
Oh, okay.
One membership is gonna be eliminated. You belong to the Association of Towns, we belong to NICOM, since we're gonna be a village
So
town.
what did
why
you call
would we
it?
sign
You
on?
want it to be a TPM, you said?
Yeah, and all of those.
TPM?
Mhm.
Other general support,
That's the filming,
what?
the filming of the
Public
meetings.
access,
Public access. TPM.
TPM.
Okay, as we go on the next page, traffic control. I don't know what's traffic control?
That's under DPW, Department of Public Works. That's one of the funds under their line. When they
What
go
is-
out and do.
TPM,
Yeah.
Well, wait 1
Would
second,
that
tell
be a
Matt.
TPM or transfer to the courts of
I would do a
base?
TPM until you really look at
It's a
everything.
TPM, yeah, in the meantime, because there's a portion in the town's budget that is associated with the police.
Okay, so we'll make it TPM?
Is that the guy
Well-
with the tickets, the personnel?
No,
No,
that's
that's
3320.
No, just because it
That's your
said
next
traffic
line.
control personal
Yeah.
services.
Traffic.
But is this-
That
is this-
particular line 3310 is under DPW.
Yeah.
That's for his men. 3320 is the actual
Oh,
parking.
personal-
Plus all the things you bring.
what's
Oh,
on
What,
street?
what is
Okay.
this actually, I'd like to just understand, what exactly is this?
It's under Department of Public Works.
No, the one that we're looking at right now, traffic control personal services for 11,000.
That's Blue's area.
That's Blue-
when
so
they
is
go
that-
out and do some kind of
So is,
whatever.
so is that like when there's like a parade or something and the DPW
Yeah,
guys
I
go out and
guess.
do,
Any, like,
do crowd
for
control, just
snow,
like the
they're
police
removing
or?
snow off the streets and they're,
Water
You know,
member, well, no.
anything that they're doing with traffic, I would imagine.
On-street parking,
Can I
That's-
ask one
well,
question? please?
sure,
Something you just said?
let's stop.
It's a good idea, so I can speak. Traffic control person you said was for picking up cones and stuff.
That's part of it.
How
Whatever.
is that a revenue?
No, we're an
It's
expenditure.
expenditures.
This is
We're
a.
expending-
We left revenue after page 6.
Yeah, we left revenues a long time ago, Ira.
Okay.
Alright.
All right, sorry, but I'm glad you're right with us.
Huh? Well, if I don't have to get bored, I go right along with it.
Okay, on-street parking for personal services.
That's parking enforcement.
Okay, I had pulled that, and so you want me to make a notation that that is going to be a transfer to police /
I think so.
justice?
Transfer complete?
And courts. Mhm.
I do have one question on the transfer complete for police services. Are you actually going to transfer that money to the police line, or are you going to do?
That's it.
This is
Another-
an expense.
It's an
We're in
expense.
expenses now.
Yeah, we are.
What I'm saying is, you've got an expense for this. You're making a transfer in revenues to the police line. You're making an expense in the police line. Are you actually gonna make those transfers from the revenue to the police line? Or are you gonna do like they do now and put it into the general fund? Because it makes a difference in what your budget looks like.
No, Ira,
Go ahead.
trust me, you will understand me at the end.
Okay. No, it's just that, you know, that's a big
He's
thing.
raising a philosophical question, which I believe we will have to deal with at the
Yeah.
end
No,
of
no, no,
today.
I
If it falls under
understand.
them, it should be
I
theirs.
mean, I don't
No,
wanna show
I
police services at
understand what-
130,000 when they're really 160,000. Or you're gonna show 160 when they're really 130. I just don't think that's right.
The revenues will go into the appropriate line, Ira, when we put this budget together.
That's
It
the
won't be
question.
general fund.
And that's the
It
question
should
I'm
go to
asking.
Ira, we're all sitting here together creating this model budget, and we'll create the right model budget, okay?
Ask me the questions
I
you've been dealing with.
guess what I don't understand, okay, and I think that's maybe Ira's part of our problem. On-street parking, this is the expense personal services. What personal
Is
service
this
people in the village do this?
It's the parking enforcement officer.
That's what I asked.
No, that's what it is. That's
Yeah,
what
okay,
it
no,
is.
that's why I asked if that was the block enforcement officer.
No, you were asking on the first one, the
All right,
traffic
forget it,
control,
forget it, forget it.
3310.
As long as
Okay.
that's what you're saying it is.
3320 is
You let it go.
3320 is
parking enforcement.
And it goes to the police
basically the
and
guy's
courts.
parking, okay.
Right, that I don't mind. My question
Okay,
was.
all right, fine.
And Dave misunderstood you. That wasn't the question you were asking about the philosophical question of revenues to the police.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understood what he was asking.
I
I hear it all the
understood
time.
what he was asking.
Thank you.
You didn't have any problem with this at all, did you?
That's a key.
No, because I hear it all the time and I know it, and it's like, you know, people might have done it wrong in the past, that doesn't mean we're not gonna do it right in the future. So I'm just tired of hearing it, that's all.
Fire versus change.
We're going to change it, Ira. You have people who understand the budget, okay? Jean and I understand the budget. It will be done right in the town, and it will be done right in the town and village if we merge, okay?
You just
You have a lot of
answered my question, I
modifications?
can now go forward with my question.
What
You have a lot of
comes after
modifications
fire
in your
department in
current
that budget?
Please remember, this is going to be a village.
things weren't done right.
But-
No, I know.
Well,
Let's try to keep this to one discussion if we
Yeah.
possibly can. Okay,
Thank
Steve,
you.
your turn.
What comes after the fire department in that budget? Because I had already added dog control.
Okay, well,
I was already starting on my combination.
no, I understand
Okay,
that.
It said fire, personal services, these are all transfer completes, right?
I got that, yeah.
Okay.
Safety
The next
inspection.
one is
Oh,
safety
okay.
inspection.
Got that, okay, go ahead.
What's the safety inspection?
Building department.
That's the building
So
department.
that's a merger.
That's transfer
Yeah, so
pending
this is
modification,
TPM, right?
Yeah.
right?
Okay, 10 TPM, so that's all TPM, okay? Miscellaneous, I guess that's a TPM.
That is the repeater that we,
What?
Okay, wait a minute.
it's the expense of the repeater that we share with the town for the police department.
So
It would be-
is it going to be
it
a wash?
would-
Is
it would
it, are
be
we
a-
paying half so
yeah.
that it's a merge?
It's a merge.
Or a transfer complete, whatever.
Okay. Okay, street administration, what's that?
Wait a
Okay.
minute.
Blues line.
Did you guys blow through the registrar of vital statistics?
No, we
didn't
don't
get
have,
there
it's not, you added it in because that's the town, but it's
No.
not in the
We
village.
don't have it.
It's not in the village budget.
Oh, yeah, we.
Yes, you
we
do,
have, but I
because
didn't
you
have any
pay
that
the
year.
town clerk.
I don't.
Oh, you
bill
didn't
that
have it
year.
that year? I'm sorry.
This is.
My mistake. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
miscellaneous public is
So what's street administration?
No,
All
what's-
right, just give me a code number that you're up to. please.
3989.
It's a TC.
Right.
That's the repeater.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah, so
All
we're up
Now we're
to,
down
No,
to
whoa.
850.
This is an expenditure.
Yeah.
You say it's transfer complete.
Street.
I also heard that it was revenue for the town today.
no, Dave, it was, we split the,
What?
it's one cost and the town and the village split it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So instead of it being
Oh.
2,000, it'll be $4,000.
okay, fine.
So it's a
All right,
TC.
I understand it. Street administration.
That's a TC.
Which is that? What is that?
That's DPW's department. That's,
DPW, and we use it
TPM.
as
Yep.
superintendent of highways, so it's
TPM,
Yep,
Main Street Personal Services, this is all TPM.
Yep.
TPM.
Yep.
Snow removal, TPM.
Yep.
TPM.
benefit for street lighting, that's a benefit
All right.
district. BD.
Benefit District.
Yep. Sidewalks the
Well,
same.
what did you do with snow removal?
TPM.
It's a
TPM.
Hmm.
Sidewalks,
Benefit district.
what?
Benefit district. Bus operations, what?
Okay,
That's
yeah, what
park
did
and
you
ride.
do with?
That's what?
Wal-
It's park and ride down on 32.
Yeah,
We get 100% refund from the state.
yeah,
State.
what are you gonna do with that?
The contract's up in 2 years or 1 year. It's a 5-year contract. So it's something that you'd have to decide what you want
So
to do.
you don't use UCAT?
We use
Oh,
it too,
this
but
is
we
the
also
park
use
and
park
ride.
and
No, no, no,
ride. This is the
and-
park and ride project. Didn't cost us a penny.
Uh-huh.
Just
Right.
and Fed reimbursed us for everything. That's
And
where you saw that
we-
money coming in on the other lines.
Mm-hmm.
But we have that's
And-
our expenditure. for
That's
the
our
year.
expenditure side of it, and then the revenues on the other lines.
Right.
that you
Okay.
saw.
How do we handle the revenue?
But it's,
It gets booked in on those projects that we saw earlier, the 3097, the 4089.
could we take it out?
All
Or
right,
that's
so
because we
is
said we're
this
not
a
gonna
big
have it?
question mark to be decided?
Yeah, because it's a contract. It's a 5-year contract. So once it's up, like right now, we pay.
Okay, we can't take the line out. We can't take the line out because the town uses that same line to support the UCAP bus
Okay.
operations.
So it's a
Okay.
tra-
But it's
TPM.
not a transfer complete, and it's not a TPM, it's a contractual that we need to decide. This aspect.
Well,
of that line.
actually, no, it's a transfer,
This is-
it's a
this is
transfer
bus
pending,
expenses, operations, bus
Sally.
operations.
I would
No,
say
this
just
is the
TPM.
parking
yeah.
lot.
Sally, no, but Sally, what Jean just said, we use that same line for UCAT. So
Right.
it's a transfer pending modification, because we'll probably always have UCAT as a community to have the public transportation.
Right, but-
So let's just keep the line in as a TPM.
I don't disagree, but we need to make a note that in this particular line item, for this particular cost.
It's a contract.
It is a contractual to be decided.
Okay.
Make it TPM.
Are we talking this 5410?
5630.
5630.
Oh, okay. So how we code that, please, tell me?
TPM.
Okay, it's a TPM, but then in parentheses, contractual to be decided. For this particular line.
Well, not really,
of the
because,
budget.
not necessarily because you already have the contract,
Okay,
and you're
fine.
just,
Well,
you just,
It's coming due.
Oh, so you mean whether or not you renew it?
Okay.
We need to decide.
Off-street, okay, let's go on to 5650, which is off-street parking.
Now, I don't know what to,
Those are our parking lots. We're
I would
gonna have
put-
to,
You'd have to like think about all that. What
Yeah,
you're going
that's a
to
big
do.
question mark.
All of these are kind of what you'd have to study what you want to do.
okay, this is,
because they're revenue generators, and so we really have to think about,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know,
right.
is that the meters?
huh?
okay.
Is that the meters?
Well,
Some are metered,
No,
some
like we
aren't.
rent the post office parking lot down there
Yeah, the
for
municipal
$250 a
lot.
month, and then we collect the money on the meters.
Yeah,
okay, but
So-
these are expenditures, okay, so it has to do with the DPW, correct? So my question that I made a notation to myself is, do you want this pulled out as a special district?
no.
I don't
But
think
they're,
it's worth
the
it.
parking lots are within the realm of the village.
Still is a revenue to government.
It's an
We could
expensive
create a
revenue
parking
source.
lot out at Mohonk someday.
I would think that's something, this whole area is something you're gonna
Yeah,
work
we're
on
gonna
and
have
look
to
at.
examine more
Uh-huh.
closely.
TPM?
Sure.
I
If you
would.
if you put the parking meter fees into T-City, shouldn't the expense be in TC also, Sally?
There, see, one
I'm
is,
just-
yeah,
I'm
one
saying,
is
yeah.
meters. Nancy's right. We have to rethink this
This
whole
is all
thing
has to
together.
be
Yeah.
studied.
One are
Exactly.
meters, one are off-street parking with meters.
Okay,
Exactly.
can we,
Exactly.
can
You
we,
get revenue from one, and
can we,
Revenues
if
from
you
both.
have, yeah, but if you put the revenue in TC, then you should have the revenue.
If we have
the
on-street
expense in
parking
TC.
it and moved it to Clifton
Well, I guess
Court,
it
that's
also
where
depends
it
if
is.
you're gonna continue to rent the parking lot.
I
If you're not
understand,
gonna
that's
rent it,
why I
then
have
get
the
rid of
question
that,
mark,
yeah.
I'm just bringing up,
Yeah.
you said
Nancy,
TP.
maybe the question is to put it in police and courts and question mark, because they'll be the revenue side.
Exactly, yeah, right, that's, I mean, you gotta keep
If
consistent.
you're gonna
okay,
continue to
but
rent.
can we
right,
also, just make some side notes of issues? Like when you bring up these are issues we have to go back and sort
Yeah,
of
and
study.
then I put study, like I
Yes.
read right on it, study.
So,
That's what I did. I
okay,
did study.
so we'll put study on the off-street parking in this area?
Mm-hmm.
And other
Okay.
transportation, that's the 5680.
That's one that we're just talking about.
Okay, that's one, okay.
Oh, okay, so that's another study.
But that's a TPM,
Yeah,
Because
you
you wanna-
gotta really like look at this stuff.
Yeah.
okay.
And the other transportation is 5989, what's that?
TC, chips,
Yep.
That's the 59894?
5989, yeah, is consolidated highway.
Other economic development,
Okay, hold on, you have to be specific with me.
6989.
TPM.
69,
89,
okay,
Where do you want to put that in? TPM?
I would TPM. Yeah, because I'd have to go in and look at it.
Yeah.
And the other
Okay.
transportation,
I put it in the same place it's study.
They all need to be
Okay,
looked at.
parks, which are 1710,
oh,
This is Hasbrook Park in Moriel?
All the
Is
parks.
it Moriel
No.
too?
No, not
Just-
Moriello.
just-
Moriello is separate as a
no,
category.
it's Hasbrook and Peace, and
so this
Sojourner
is
Truth.
transfer complete, right?
It's all the parks in the village.
Yeah, it's TPM.
Alright, so which
It won't be
code?
TC because there will be adjustments because
Would be one.
Okay, TPM,
there'll be one.
okay.
Okay,
Okay, historical property, personal services,
Oh.
7520.
Where is that?
That's Historic Preservation Commission.
Historian, we don't pay
I would say
anything
that's
for it,
gonna be
but that's
historical,
Uh,
okay.
Oh, okay, I just didn't.
That's a TC,
That's what I think, right? You're gonna do
that's what
one
I think, because
What are we
both
doing with it now?
have
TC.
historic commissions.
Historic Preservation Commission.
Town
you're gonna have one,
village.
right?
We're only gonna have
Yeah.
one.
TPM then, right?
So it's a
Okay.
TPM, not a transfer complete.
Celebrations, I presume that, well, that's a kind of a,
Well, with
Celebrations,
that,
that'd be a TPM too.
yeah, because whatever you celebrate, and whatever we celebrate, we'll celebrate together.
yeah, but the point is this, that, you know,
What is it, Trent? It's a,
it's gotta be more TC than TPM.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay,
okay, so
zoning,
it's, okay, TC.
these are all TPMs,
I thought they
With a
were
minus.
No, the
TCs.
You're
But
gonna
are
have
we
a reduction.
completely,
So it's a TPM minus.
This is 80-10.
Well, let me, could just,
Okay.
out of,
And this is also,
well, I gotta just ask a question, Dave. Zoning personal services is $39?
Yeah, it's no charges. I mean, if they didn't have any meetings that year, it's personnel services. It's just their payroll.
Somebody took a coffee break on it.
There probably wasn't really anything that year. There's really some, actually
okay,
this year's hasn't been
Uh-huh.
anything.
TCM minus for planning,
Mm-hmm. And environmental control.
didn't have anything.
No.
All right, wait a
You-
minute.
I think the town does.
All right, but,
So it's TC, what are you saying?
M, which means it's gonna be
Modified,
more-
if you
it's
put
gonna be a
the
lesser
minus-
figure
minus.
than the two together.
I'm not sure there's gonna be too much of a minus there, at least initially.
Well, yeah, because that's not, well, the only one that's a big expense to us is planning, the contractuals.
Is what?
Planning, contractuals.
Yeah, and they pay per diem. They don't do it by retainer, so it's gonna be a major adjustment.
Yeah.
But the revenues will offset.
Well, our revenue's offset too, but you don't need to
Not as
have
much
the
as it costs us
expenditures
sometimes.
that the town has.
What?
We now have a planner, okay, which is gonna reduce the legal expenses, probably,
Maybe.
a
okay.
great deal. And you pay a lot of the legal expenses for your planning board.
Not
But
all of
no,
which is
Okay.
recoverable.
not all, but a lot of it is charged
Yeah,
back.
but, you know.
Yeah, but we have expenses, there's no doubt
Oh,
about
yes,
that. But I'm
okay.
just saying, I'm just
Well,
saying.
I don't want, I'll talk to you someday about that.
Okay.
I think I already sent you a note on
Yeah,
it.
but all I'm just saying is that when somebody made a comment that number's gonna go up exponentially, that wasn't the word that was used, but it was gonna go up a lot. I'm just saying, so will the revenues, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are we up to
And we might be
8140?
able to reduce some of our planning application fees for the community if we can get some of our costs down.
Well, I also think that some of
How about
the
environmental
expenses,
control, ENCC? Even though there was no expenses that year, but.
well, we keep the line because we have it, right?
I think they have.
Well, it's
one.
environmental
Oh, no, that's
control.
not, this
Oh.
was for the, what was that? It's gonna go away.
Are you
Get rid of
talking-
it. I was trying to think what it was in the budget a couple years ago. It was with
Well,
Sherry
Your
Osborne.
wetland law comes up.
You were on the board at the time. What was it?
Isn't this where your wetland?
Are you
keep
talking
thinking
about,
bands.
are you talking about environmental
Green.
control under
Yeah.
planning?
What was it?
I think just take it out because.
Yeah, we can take it out, but I'm
Just
trying to
take it
figure
out.
out what, I remember it came onto our budget a couple years ago.
It can come out of ours.
Get rid of
We're
it.
gonna have to look at the town very carefully.
I will.
because you pay for
It was in your B
environmental
fund
wetlands
because we
first.
were,
Yeah, that's right. No,
That's,
That's
Well,
not
just
what
like-
this
that's
is.
actually in the,
Built-
like in the building and planning and zoning.
Okay.
So
Just like
I
you have a
will
planner.
So we're
incorporate it.
admitting this?
yes.
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 Take that
You'll-
along.
yes.
Okay, I'll sit, okay, fine. Okay, storm
Storm
sewers,
sewers, should that,
transfer complete.
That's, well, isn't
Or
that
should
a
it- or
a
should
special
it not?
district?
yeah, is that
Is that-
drainage?
That's,
The storm sewer should it, because
This
the
is-
town has like 4 or 5 drainage.
District.
This is
Districts.
drainage, yes.
so this would
Okay,
either,
so am I pulling it out?
What are we doing with this?
I would think
Why don't-
it's something that you're gonna have to look at.
why don't we
okay,
do
it's one
B,
of those-
let's do BD and then say study.
Study.
Okay, well, I'm not getting that through.
But I mean, the cost is still probably gonna be there somewhere, isn't it?
It will be, but we don't know if it's gonna be already incorporated into one of the lines that's already out there
Yeah,
in one of the districts.
Right.
because of the way budget.
So we'd have to study this with DPW to see exactly what it entails and then see what the town's doing.
Right.
Good question, so,
Mhm.
refuse and garbage.
That's all the garbage pickup that we do within the village.
We have
And
refuse and
what
garbage,
has
right?
not-
We have
Okay,
a refuse
We
and
pay
garbage
someone to
line.
come in every
Well,
Saturday.
Moriella would pay for somebody.
Right.
They don't
Yeah,
get their own.
the
They pay for
thing about
garbage.
the,
Yeah, but this
well,
is the line that
this
we
is
pay
touch
our
and go
men to
for
come
me.
in and do on the
But what I'm
weekends.
gonna
Uh-huh.
say
So what?
is, it is a
Well,
TPN.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
I would
Put
definitely say
out
that.
bid.
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
It's a TPN and we're gonna bid it,
well,
Mm.
you,
because it's now getting high enough that you might even be able to use one of your municipal employees to.
They do it. your DPW department.
You have
This
garbage
is
pickup in the
it.
village?
I'm
The
talking about
TPM.
that.
No, this is
Is this
emptying
any of this
those
money paid to
big
the town?
garbage collection receptacles on Main Street.
Actually, yes, the
This is
contractual
Village
side of it, when they
Central.
do
Uh-huh.
some of
It's
the stuff
also
over
doing the
transfer
spring
station,
cleanup
yeah.
when the
Mhm.
students leave.
We
picking
had to
up
talk
all
to
Well,
the,
let's just have one conversation, excuse me. Oh, we'll come back to that.
So-
Jean's explaining to me what this line is for the village.
Mhm.
So Jean was saying to me that it's picking up the garbage on Main Street and all the big receptacles, paying for the spring cleanup, paying to clean up after the students leave.
It's not for picking up garbage at anyone's home.
no, we were
like
just
that.
saying that on Main Street,
Right.
they come in on the weekends and do it.
Right.
And the contractual side of it is when we have to go use your transfer station,
Uh-huh.
we have to pay.
So this could technically be
Well,
a benefit
when we-
district too, in a way, couldn't
Right,
it?
when we drop off tires that we pick up
Right.
from spring cleanup, we have to pay the
A
town.
lot of
Well,
money.
this
So-
would,
So actually that,
8160?
Yes, Jean, let Jean finish that, what, Jean?
no, that just has my juices flowing. So I'm putting TPM and special district.
Right.
Because I have to think it through in terms of the piece where what is collected is then turned into the town's transfer station and then the village is billed. Okay?
That's it.
So this
It's a large
is a very,
So that bill will be dropped.
It will be dropped because we're
Because
all
there is
one.
no bill.
Right.
Yeah,
When
it will
you
be a
merge.
savings.
right.
You're not gonna
okay,
make
but
money off the
on
village.
the other, well,
Well, we pay to get rid of it, but
on
that's
the
beside the
other
point.
hand, although the building inspector in the town does say that the student population has exceeded the village boundaries and is in the contiguous areas right next to the
What's
village
that have to do with
boundaries
the
and
residents?
whether or not in a town-wide village, okay, everyone should have to absorb the cost for spring cleanup.
We absorb the cleanup.
We absorb it here.
Yeah, but if you're
If-
one
if
government,
we
you're all
do
going
it
to do it.
town-
It's the same thing.
Village town-wide, just because the
No,
town
no, no, I
doesn't
understand
currently
that.
do
No,
it,
no, no, I understand
doesn't mean there won't be, Jane.
that. I understand that.
Okay,
I
so,
think the question.
She's saying that it should be transfer pending modification, and she wants to consider the aspect of possibly a special district. So that's why she just said TPM, special district, and she'd like to think about it. So
but
let's
what
move on
I'm
to the next.
saying
Yeah.
to you is, it is not a special district, it is a TPM with a minus because we will no longer be paying for the transfer, and it might be a plus if we decide that we will expand spring cleanup to the town.
Yeah, but you might not have a need to do spring cleanup in the town as much as you do it in the village, and so therefore there might be modifications, and that's why we say we'll study it.
I think the note that I think
But
needs to
don't
be.
call it a special benefit.
Okay.
Just a second. I think the note in regards to $22,316, which is refusing garbage, okay, I have to think a note, okay? Because if that is today paid to the town, then the town is gonna have a reduction
That's right.
in income.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you change it otherwise.
Right.
So I think that's the point that I think we wanna make here, all right? Everybody agree with that?
And you certainly in town hall have garbage cleanup, you don't all park your own out. So you have refuse and you have it in the field of dreams and in your
Oh,
parks.
absolutely, but we don't, it gets put there, and when it gets taken to
That's true,
the
we have
transfer
more parks.
station,
We have a
it
lot of
doesn't, nobody pays for it, it just says, well, this is town garbage and gets
Only for-
dumped,
Right,
okay?
so
But
now,
when it comes to the village, okay, the town hands you a bill,
right,
okay, all right, that's why,
but we're doing the village side right now, not the town.
So what
I
are
just
we,
wanna make the note, okay,
so are we on, for 8160, it's just TPM,
Yeah, and I wrote revenue decrease to town,
Okay.
just so it's
Yeah.
something you can note.
It
okay,
is a revenue.
okay.
It's gonna be a decrease to them.
I'll just take out this.
Okay, now we get to street cleaning, which I presume is TPM.
Yeah.
And a study.
And a study?
Mhm.
Wouldn't it be a transfer complete?
No,
Or are you just saying because you might start
Well,
cleaning
the
more
only reason it's
streets?
transferred, some of this is personal services people,
Mhm.
so that if you have 60 people between the town and the village highway department, and you reduce it to 58, then everything gets knocked down a little bit,
Well,
right?
no, but I
Well,
mean,
no, if you wanna do a TC, then what it says to me is that street cleaning now, before the weekend, will go up, I don't know, maybe as high up as ShopRite,
that's
to welcome the tourists for the weekend.
That's
Because
why
right
it's
now
a
it
TPM
doesn't.
study.
How does it
Right.
get cleaned now up there?
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
That looks pretty good though.
Yeah, so why don't we just take
I
it out?
think it's a TPM study.
Maybe we can reduce that because the street
Yeah, we don't have anybody go up there.
Yeah,
Looks nice up there,
already said
actually.
it.
I walk up there a lot.
Yeah.
Community beautification.
TC.
What did we decide on street cleaning? TPM?
TPM.
TPM study.
Shade tree.
What happened to beautification?
Yeah, well, that's straight sheet. Straight is another $576. That's it.
I would imagine, since the community beautification is in the A fund, this whole thing gets omitted. And we'll deal with it on the town side.
Yeah, but
It's gonna be one fund, so.
It's
Right.
only one fund. It's one fund, Sally,
This
but
is a separate, independent fund from the A fund.
I think,
The A fund is a town, village-wide fund.
well, yeah, but next year it's gonna be A and B fund. It'll probably go out of the A fund. However, since we're doing a budget for the combined governments, since you're talking about, what, $800, just to omit, and whatever we have to do for the beautification will be in the town
Same
budget.
thing as shade
for
trees.
$800 more.
Okay, wait a minute.
Because when we look at the
Okay,
town budget.
wait a
we
minute,
did.
because then what you're talking about is when we go through the town's budget, we're gonna add community beautification in code 8510.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean,
then.
that's a combined budget.
Okay, so you're not
Okay,
omitting, you're right.
Okay, Rick, so
Right.
are we doing a village budget
No,
and a town budget?
she's right. We don't omit it because we still need that line for the joint budget. And so what she's doing is working off of the village budget.
So do it as a
She-
transfer complete.
And that means transferring to the town, so it goes out of this budget.
Right.
And it gets picked up
Yeah.
in your budget.
And shade tree would be the same thing,
And
right?
shade tree is the same, they're both
Okay.
omits.
So we're only talking about dollars, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
You're all right.
I'm
We're
on
all
the
right.
same page.
We're
Right.
talking the same thing.
Right.
I don't know if this is where it came up in the village budget, the ENCC, Nance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
The same thing, right? We would transfer it?
right, so it wasn't that environmental.
No, the environmental control was that, it was like in 2008. Remember, it was something that Sherry was on?
No, but it'll come to me in a couple
It
of
will,
hours.
because you're on the board.
Yeah,
And then
don't
we
mind.
Yeah.
eliminated it, so.
We're talking
This
about
is
line
ENCC.
items.
The
We recognize
ENCC?
we go to the
That would be a
town
transfer
and we
complete.
talk about the town and we
Yeah.
say, okay, there's $1,000 in the
Yeah, I
town
got it.
beautification budget.
Yep.
Well, okay, so we add the $1,000 to the $500 here, but it goes in, since we're operating under a
Keeping the
village
line.
thing, it goes under line 8510,
Right.
okay?
Right, we all got the same lines.
We go,
Uniform
that's
system
just-
accounts required.
we got a question of figures and budget lines, okay? Now, all the question of state retirement system, local pensions and so forth and so on,
Is flood and erosion, oh, it's not in there?
I just think we have to put the,
Well, right now we're on state
yeah,
retirement, local
that's
pension.
TPMs.
Except for one,
Well, what's the one?
you have to remember that you're going to have to transfer complete the fireman's benefits.
The local pension fund, 9025.8.
Yeah,
We need, that will stay, because that's for the
That's-
firefighter, it's their
That's hard.
service
You
award
don't have
program.
that.
Well, we're working, the whole entire, this whole line is, it stays in because it's a townwide village concept and you have the fire department and this expense gets incurred, right?
Wouldn't this
But
be like
you
a
don't
transfer
show
complete,
that
because you would be all
into
one?
town.
I understand that, but what we're doing, Sally, right now is Jean has the village budget as the model. And we're keeping what we need. When we get to the town one, we'll add in. But we would never take that out because this is gonna be a townwide village budget. The town's gonna incur this expense, so it stays in the budget.
It would be a transfer
Yeah.
complete.
It's
Right,
that's what I'm
exactly,
saying.
yeah.
That is a transfer complete.
That's
Okay,
it,
so
that's it.
TPMs.
And,
So
Huh?
local pension is a transfer complete.
Methodology.
Part of it is.
yeah, okay.
Well, what do you think that should be?
TPM.
Fire department, that's
Um,
9025.
If you ask me, everything from state retirement down to hospital and medical insurance should be TCs.
That's what we just said.
Oh,
Well,
well, I have
they're not,
TPMs.
I'm not, no, it's not,
That's how I voted.
I don't think you can say it's TC because it's somewhat dependent upon how many
Okay.
You're still
people
gonna
are
have
covered,
those lines
okay?
though.
So if there
Okay.
are, in total now combination of employee between the
Okay.
two things goes down by 5% or 2% or 1%, whatever it is, okay, then it comes down. If it goes up, now, some of that may be impacted by wage scale, so we have to take that into consideration also.
Don't you have to break down, just Sally, under the local pension fund, employee benefit survey awards, blah, blah, blah? Isn't that both TPM and TC, depending upon what's in it?
Yeah, because
Yeah, okay.
that
Depending
one
upon what's in it.
line
Yeah,
is
exactly,
fire.
right. That's, so it's actually both TC and TPM.
yeah, that's what I said.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second.
What is the modification? It has to come
gonna
over
be TC.
in its entirety because it is specific to the fire department as their service award program, not as their New York State local retirement fund.
What did I say 10 minutes ago?
Yes, I
Okay,
understand.
all right.
Guys, Dave,
Stating
Dave,
what
everybody, just, I wanted to, just one thing, I wanted to check, Rush is still there?
I am. It's a little hard to hear you guys, but I'm here.
Okay, just wanted to double check, okay, go ahead, Dave.
I want to go on the next page, okay? 'cause
Okay, I
we're
just wanted to
almost
check that
done.
Rush was still there, that was all.
Okay, all right, okay, on the thing. I think all the, on the next one, which is 9060, that's, TPM. Now, these do bonds and so forth.
You're gonna have debt in principle. I mean, it
Yeah.
all depends, so I would just,
It depends on who
it
has
depends
it.
on what you're gonna
I'm
have.
sorry, Susan.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
just say TC because
I
it's
would-
whatever existing numbers there
It's all
are.
TC.
TC. But they may not be
It
in
won't be
the,
those amounts and stuff, yeah.
So
they
this
may
is stuff
have to
that
be
we need
handled
to,
separately.
so this is
Right.
But,
Summer.
I do. We
why
have a
special
fund.
district or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, not these won't be special district, because this is not special district.
No, but you'll have some when you did,
But
when you put the budget
water and
together.
sewer and
Yeah,
all that, we will.
yeah.
but some of this debt is for,
The other nice thing, even though,
let's look, see
you know,
what this
we're
debt is
gonna
for.
put it together,
because-
Fire department.
oftentimes the more
Fire
employees
truck
you
is one.
have in a medical,
And one is like our storm sewer
Yeah,
borrowing,
yeah, that's right.
just
Absolutely.
miscellaneous.
so, you know, we're not necessarily
Okay,
just
now, I
smacking
think,
it.
I don't think there's anything else that we have to cover. I went through the rest of this, and,
Well, the water and sewer, we're gonna have to deal with when we get to the town and figure.
And that's cut
all
and
of
dry,
that.
water and sewer is
Yeah.
cut and dry, there's nothing you can really,
yeah, that's right, okay, so
Okay.
I think that, all right, so I think at this particular point, okay, we've done as far as we can go tonight.
Yep,
With this, now, is there something, we want to have the town one, on the next meeting?
I sure as hell
If we
hope so.
can get it ahead of time, we can start to do that, and then, with the September meeting, we can, try to get something that looks like a combining of the thing and see where we stand.
and we need the salary spreadsheet, which we were supposed to have for tonight.
Yes, you will have it by, I have to go there tomorrow and get some clarification because I got the
you got the
information.
format?
We have your format, I have, if you,
Yeah, no, I've got,
He has the villages.
would,
He has it.
yeah, I
Ira,
got the towns, the problem is, I noticed when you go into the town, aside from my medical problem that I had, she didn't mark what it is.
what do you mean?
Well, I have a form here, for example, that says, salaries, but it doesn't tell me if it's the hospitalization, if it's the compensation, it's.
She didn't break it out.
She didn't, she broke it out, but she didn't tell me what she broke out, so I have to
Yeah,
see
but
it
yeah, but
once.
I don't think the village one is broken out to that level.
Yeah, we did.
If
It's
you,
yeah.
is
we
it?
broke it all
Okay.
out. I broke it right down.
No, I know it's called, I know that, I have it over, I understand that, I am just
You
saying
have
that,
vacation.
I think she gave a lot more,
Medical.
she gave a lot more broken out information.
Yes, I have a tremendous amount of broken out
That's what I'm
information,
saying,
which is what
she
I
did.
wanted. The problem I have
She
is
doesn't identify.
she doesn't identify it, Susan. She
Uh-huh.
here, salary, $6,603, but what does this represent? She doesn't mark down this town.
I know, and as a matter of fact, if you also see, she did it by months, she didn't give you a yearly thing.
Right,
So she
that's,
gave you, so.
that's
so
the compensation, that's the workers'
after tomorrow,
Maybe it's overtime, Ira.
Huh? No, it's pension.
It doesn't matter, she gave,
Well, I know it's
she
pension,
gave an
she gave
excessive
too much.
amount, I looked at the stuff, she gave an excessive amount of stuff, and what we have to do, which I asked her to, but she was so busy working on, the police overtime and correcting the
Correcting that
overtime problem,
situation, yes.
and correcting that problem, then she had to do payroll, that she couldn't do this.
But
So-
Ira offered to do it.
I know, but then Ira got sick, so Ira couldn't do it.
Well, but the information wasn't supplied to
No,
him.
Ira got the information. Ira was sick, he couldn't do it. When I asked,
will be done by
when I
the
asked the
next week.
payroll person to take care of it, she had other more pressing issues, so she couldn't do this in time for this.
You'll
So-
have it broken out.
But
next week.
we'll just, but I mean, we can just ask her after tomorrow, she could probably even just put this all in for
I
us.
was just,
I
gonna-
think-
I was gonna
Instead of
ask
you,
her just
Will
to
we have the town
tell me what
figures
these represent.
by
I'll take care of it.
Okay.
next meeting?
Okay,
I don't know, why
Because
you
I got a month
asking?
to do it, and since
I
I
mean-
won't be
No,
doing
she
it-
said in 2 weeks.
good.
2 weeks.
I'm hoping in 2 weeks,
Now the question, okay, now another question I think,
I'm hoping in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I
Now-
can't,
before we know what we're working on and so forth, we've got to get some, I feel, some input from, other committees. And, I wonder whether it's too early to identify, to those other committees what we need, okay? Certainly we need the question of, what about, consolidation of facilities, if any?
That committee hasn't even stirred to me.
Well, I know that, but we can fire off to that, whoever that committee is, or I can fire off. We need that consolidation. And by the way, we've got to look to have that, within a reasonable amount of time, okay? We should look to, we're gonna be having to
I think, Dave,
address those
I
impacts.
think, Dave, what we do is, we let the committees do their work, and at a certain point in time, if we're not getting the information we need, we'll just have to bite the bullet and figure out what we want to do for the budget.
Susan, part of the problem in this is that I don't have the year-end transfers, which I've been asking for. Now, the year-end transfers are gonna affect,
Oh, the January and
they're
February.
gonna affect the whole thing that
Right.
you gave me, because you're gonna be moving money, let's
Everything.
say you have,
But it
let's say
shouldn't,
you're.
it shouldn't, because this is personnel stuff, this
This
is
is
just
what-
salary.
Well, our
No,
transfers.
we have a
are
zero.
coming.
Listen,
Yeah.
Oh,
The first
when
payroll
we're
of
putting it in
January.
paper,
Oh, I
I,
have this one here, I'll point to this one. No, yours are okay, I know how
But he's
yours
just
are
doing-
easy
she's
'cause
just-
you
but
have it
she's
in
just-
total,
but
I'll
we're just doing-
total what I have and give you it in total. My problem is that without the year-end transfers, let's say you moved, for example, like they did the year before last, X amount of dollars out of health insurance.
But that shouldn't, but what we're looking at right now is you're looking at how many employees does the village have?
Exactly.
What kind of health insurance do they get? What kind of salaries do they
I got
get?
that.
I understand that,
Yeah.
so regardless of transfers or how we bookkeep actual,
true.
we bookkeep actual money, you still just need the yearly cost for this employee, that employee, and this
Yeah,
employee.
that's not what he's asking at all. He's done with the employees. What he's talking about is actual expenditures year end 2011 for the town.
No, he's not. He's
Yes.
doing the
Is that
employee.
not what you're
Yes,
saying?
that's,
But we're
Susan,
not-
let me
have
put
to
it to you this
look
way.
at
I've got a thing from the village that says their total hospitalization was X, their total pension was Y, their total disability was Z. Without your transfers to it finalized, I can't say that the total hospitalization was added, because I don't know, I don't know
Okay.
what the transfers were.
When the town's AFR is ready in 2 weeks, give it to Ira. The figures will be in it.
Fine, Jean.
Okay.
What are you saddling with me?
Are you doing
What?
What are
Are
you
you
doing
doing
to
the
me?
report?
To make it very simple.
We have an outside auditor.
Oh, good.
If I was doing the report, no, we have an outside auditor who came in to reconcile the annual report was supposed to be done by March 31st.
Yes, I think so.
We brought in an outside
I
auditor.
think I know. what-
On March 31st, she asked me to do an extension because she couldn't reconcile the books.
Yeah,
I got a month extension. When that month was over, she told me I needed another extension. I wrote to the state to say we need another extension. The state wrote and said you can't have another extension, we're only allowed to give you one, get it in as soon as possible. At the same time, I said, I want this in as soon as possible. You don't think I don't want to know what the finances of the town are? I have to deliver a town budget in 2 months. I don't even know what last year's budget is. We haven't closed it out. At the same time, we have the controller's report that the controller was there for 7 months last year, and we've still yet to get the report from the state on the controller's report.
We don't
So
have the audit yet.
I don't have the audit for the state controllers, and I don't have the
It
annual
started
report.
a year ago.
I don't have the audits from the state controllers I don't have the outside state controllers report where they did an audit last year. We've yet to get that. And I have yet to deliver an annual report because the outside auditor has yet to reconcile the books and file it with the
And
state.
you don't have an
You're-
independent audit for 2011.
No, I don't.
But like you're,
But with the AFR, you will.
AFR, the annual financial report.
Right.
The independent audit that we're having
And then
done.
you will have the independent audit for the fiscal year 2011.
so
Yes.
every month do you do like your transfers and stuff on your books over there? So when you come to the end of the year, you don't have to be,
You would think.
well, it is a good system.
But Susan
Yeah.
says that the categories are found up so that using the December 31st year-end monthly budget control.
Uh-huh.
Well, we're not
Yeah.
using the December
Isn't
30,
that-
we're not using the December 31st
Like I'm
one
closing
because,
the books right now for May,
right.
May 31st, and I did my last budget modifications last week, so I'll have pretty much my final numbers, well, by tomorrow, because the auditors come in Monday. So I'll have a really good idea.
For
where
your
we're at.
year end.
For May 31st,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
It's-
question-
I mean, again, in fairness, they did transfer last year over to a new auditing system, a whole new computer
Yeah, I
system.
did that in 2008.
And but the problem is, from what I understand, the system was set up and the numbers didn't reconcile with
Yeah,
what
but
was
when-
really spent and what came out of the system.
But they
Did-
don't even leave. When we transferred over from KBS to Encode, the programmers were here with us that night doing the transfer. We compared. We compared what we left off on KBS to what went over to Encode. We compared all of our numbers.
Well, I can't tell you what was done or what
I
wasn't
would
done.
think-
All I can tell you is when the outside auditor came in, she found out that there were problems that
Yeah,
didn't
but I
compute.
can't even imagine that the company that sold you the software didn't stay to make sure. You know what I mean? Because we were like working into the night, comparing numbers, making sure everything transferred over properly.
Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you is the fact that the numbers didn't
Okay,
transfer properly,
that's-
didn't get discovered until about a
What?
month and a half ago when the outside auditor
Yes,
came in.
let's end
really-
this meeting.
Oh, my God.
Appreciate it, I think
Okay, I
that,
want to clarify something.
Welcome to my
yeah.
world.
I've been there.
Okay,
I've been,
what Ira,
I've been there.
correct me if I'm wrong, what Ira was saying when he asked the transfer what the date was, this is not to say this happened, but you could budget $100,000 for medical expenses, actually only spend 30, and transfer at the end of the year 70,000 to another account where you're overexpended. What he is saying is to look at actual expenditures before all budget modifications are made is what he wants to see, actual expenditures after all budget modifications are made.
But that's what he will have when the annual report is done. It will
When it's
reconcile.
done.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah, that's all.
okay, all right, okay, fine. All right,
When
yeah.
are we meeting for Labor Day? We're scheduled on the first meeting in September's Labor Day, and I don't think, so what day are we gonna meet?
Well,
Think
I'm
about
actually
it.
away.
Hmm?
I'm away those last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we need to think about it.
okay, we need to think about our September meeting,
Yeah.
okay, we'll decide that at our August
August.
meeting.
Yep.
Now, the other thing the question of staffing is, the other thing that bothers me a little bit don't bother me a lot, okay, is that you're looking at budgets and budget comparisons on here, and you're really estimating a budget of for 2015 or something like that, but there are things that are going to change. Gas prices are going to change. Health insurance rates are going to change. All of those things are going to change, okay? So if we go forth to the public and say, you know, this is what the budget would anticipate, I think we have to be sure to say, well, this is if in fact we had the consolidation today, all right, and we existed the consolidation of the community today, this would be your budget, this would be your tax rates, and this would be what your comparison is. We recognize that there are going to be changes, and the changes will occur whether in fact we consolidate or don't consolidate. And they will have a corresponding effect, so that we say what the 2000 budget would be if, let's take a figure of $10 million combined, based on we come out now, and if we didn't consolidate, the budget would be $10,250,000. The fact may be that we get to 2015 because of costs we didn't identify, health insurance, wage rates, fuel costs, all kinds of things. The budget that the community may see at that time is $10,500,000, $10.5 million budget. Do you see the figures I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say? Don't hold us to the budget that you're talking about here of, well, you're telling me that the budget's going to be $10 million in 2015. No, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that if we had the situation in place now with the consolidation and the savings we project, the budget would be $10 million rather than $10,250,000. But that isn't to say what it's going to be 2015.
Yeah, I think you're approaching it backwards. The first thing we need to do is figure out among ourselves, in a consolidated budget, what categories get consolidated and at what level. Now, that's number one. Then, and we're using 2011 figures because we have ours solidly. Susan is hoping in 2 weeks to have theirs.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're trying to put known figures together.
Yes.
Okay. The question is, taking the known figures together, how much of a difference is there between that consolidated budget and two budgets, budget 1 plus budget 2, for the same period of time? That's number one.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so in other words, you might have a separate town budget of 8 million and a separate village budget of 5 million, that's 13 million together, but when we consolidate it, it might be 10 million consolidated. That is not going to change, that proportional thing, because your town costs will go up, village costs will go up. So proportionately, it is the proportional savings that matters, not actual. Then we can take those figures and feed into it all of the known new factors, because by that time Susan will know what her 2012 budget, how much of a differential there is there. She may find a tremendous amount of savings right within the town budget as she does it from last year to this year. Okay? So you can never, ever say, gee whiz, it's a proportion. It's always a proportion. In other words, if in 2010 there was and we did do
Sally, I
that.
agree with you 100%.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
all.
yeah, okay, that, I just wanted, that proportional difference, and you explained it very well, okay?
Okay.
It's just that the situation, that I don't want this committee or anybody else to say, well, when we combine, this is what the vision's gonna be,
Oh,
3 years in the future. I can't tell you that.
Yeah, and we shouldn't, and no one should even expect us to.
All right, but I just, you know, that
Yeah.
may be an interpretation that we're not one of them.
Well, we have to educate people to understand.
I understand that, we just don't talk about that,
We are creating
okay?
a model, so to speak,
Yes.
okay, not promising them
Yes.
the yellow brick road.
Okay, fine, thank you very much, I appreciate everybody, have a nice, hard-working, July, and we'll see you the...
And be firecrackers.
Hey, Ross.
Yes.
You still there?
When's the August?
Yes, I am,
Cut it
sir.
off.
I hope you feel
Good
better.
meeting.